Welcome to Swaggerslifestyle.
Hello. Do you know that the Brits drink a lot of tea? About 100 million cups every day. Stamp originated in the United Kingdom. In May 1840, the first stamp was issued in the UK. It was called the penny black. London has the world's largest running show, and cheese rolling is a sport. Welcome to another informative series of your Nigerian Living. Today, we'll be taking a trip back to the United Kingdom, where chicken tikka masala is England's native dish. I will be having an insightful conversation with a beautiful financial expert and a mom of two amazing children, Jennifer. She creates content on personal growth, work-life balance, lifestyle, and financial literacy. I would allow her to please introduce herself. Can we meet you?
Hi, so my name is Jennifer. I reside here in the UK. I think I've been here for the past, plus 10 years now. And I'm a finance manager by profession. I also kind of do YouTube content on the side. I've got two lovely girls. So yeah, I think if you go to my page and check me out, you kind of get to know a little bit more about me. So I think that's just a little brief introduction there.
Thank you so much for honoring our invite and for being on the show today. Yes, because her show, her YouTube page is very, very informative. I would definitely, put her handle or her channel on the description box. You could just go subscribe to her content. She shares so many amazing content on financial literacy, work-life balance, and also on lifestyle. It's a very, very wonderful channel, and you would definitely learn a lot. It's informative and it's packed, trust me. So I'll just, go straight to our conversation. So at what point in life did you decide you wanted to have a career in the financial sector?
You know what? It's so funny because that's a very good question. I don't think I've ever remembered a time I did not want to do anything to do with accounts, finance, that kind of stuff. I think the key point, the only thing I can really pinpoint my hands on was, I grew up in Nigeria. I was born and raised in Edo State, Nigeria. So I went to school. I remember those days, when it was a new term wanted to start, and your parents would take you to the bank and they would pay your school fees at the bank. And then the bank was always cold, nice AC, it was chilled. They wore nice suit, they looked put together. I think that was my first interest in working a bank, in finance industry. I used to tell my mom, I want to work in a bank one day. I want to wear suits. I want to be somewhere where I'm just receiving AC every day. You get, as a typical Nigerian child. So that was really the first thing that kind of gave me interest into anything to do with banking and finance. Initially, it was banking and finance that my interest started with. So I just wanted to work in the bank. There was one time in Nigeria where the bankers was a big deal. If you know, everyone just wanted to be a banker. So I think that was where my interest in finance came from. I've just always wanted to do anything to do with accounts, finance, that kind of stuff. I think that's the main point. That was, if I can place my finger on anything, it was just going to the bank and paying my school fees and receiving cheap AC, and the idea of I want to wear a suit, really.
Oh, I like that. I thought you were going to say it was about the money.
No, it wasn't about, I didn't even figure out how much bankers or finance people earn until later on in life when I was really doing some research about the career. For me, it was just more of the aesthetics. First, I wanted to be in the bank receiving AC. Two, at that point in life, I think bankers was, they were head to high esteem. And I just really liked the profession. So I knew that one of the key things my mom used to say is you have to be good in maths. You need to make sure that your maths is good. And I was quite good in maths, so that was all right. I wasn't an A student in maths, but when I studied something, I understand it, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you so much for sharing. So from a financial expert's point of view, what should you consider when relocating to another country and settling down?
That's a very good question. For me, you need to consider a lot of stuff. So if we take, for example, say you were in Nigeria, for example, and you wanted to relocate to the UK, just as a case study, I think people relocate for different reasons, but one of the financial, in terms of just putting a financial aspect to it, I've said make sure that you have at least 3 to 5 year plans in terms of financially. First, if you're coming into a new country, let's assume that on the worst case scenario, if you don't have any money saved up, how are you going to get a job to make sure that you have finances to run your day-to-day life? Secondly, you need to think of, okay, if you're in Nigeria, maybe you're an MD, where do you work currently? What kind, are you an engineer, are you this, that? You need to look at what you're currently doing and also think of, in that country, can I continue the same career path? What are the benefits, or what is the salary pay in that country within that field I'm in? Try to kind of compare it and measure it to where you're currently in. Now, I'm just talking from a financial aspect. Some people, there's a lot of things that comes into relocating that you need to consider. But just looking at it from finance, you're looking at, okay, I'm here right now. This is what I'm working. This is what I'm earning. If I relocate to this particular country, what are my job aspects? What are my entrepreneurship aspects? So it's looking at those kind of things that I would personally look at. And also, I would also ideally find out how long it would take to get a job, what kind of qualification it would take me to get that same job I'm currently doing in my current country. Then I also look into my savings. So I like this idea of making sure that you have at least a good 3 months to 6 months of your saving, of your living cost expenses saved up as an emergency fund. So you need to think about the fact that, okay, if I get into this new country, if I don't get a job immediately, how am I going to sustain myself? And there's so many different aspects of it, because if you're a single person, it's a different situation. If you're a single parent, it's a different situation. If you're a family, it's a different situation. So it's very, very broad. But I was saying, don't go to a new country broke. Don't do that. You're just setting yourself up for financial distress. I would always advise you to make sure that you have 3 to 6 months worth of savings, or at least a minimum 3 months worth of savings to sustain you in that country, whether or not you find a job.
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Like, what you said is 100% profound, and thank you so much for sharing. So let's go straight to the conversation of the day. How did you relocate to the UK? Because you had said earlier that you've spent 10 years in the UK. So why UK, and how were you able to settle down?
To be fair, when I say relocate, it's not really in the sense of jackpot, like straight from Nigeria. No. So like I said before, I was born and raised in Edo State, Benin City. So I finished my secondary school there. My dad stays in Germany. So in 2008, my dad just moved me from Nigeria to Germany. So I didn't just migrate straight into the UK. So I first left Nigeria, I think somewhere around 2008, and then went to join my dad in Germany. I think I had just finished secondary school there. I wrote JAM actually. I just finished secondary school in 2008. I wrote JAM. I think I was about to get into uni at some point. I can't remember now. It's been a while. But then my dad was like, okay, I want you to come and join me in Germany. But to be fair, I knew that he was already doing our papers for us at some point when I was in like just 3 or so. So we just didn't know when my visa was going to come out for me to then join my dad. But as soon as I finished secondary school, it came out. My dad was like, okay, time to go. Packed my bags, relocated to Germany to join my dad. And then when I got to Germany, in my head, once I get there, maybe I'm going to do language school and get into uni, because I was already like, I think 14. You know how you finish secondary school quite early in Nigeria. And I got to Germany, obviously a huge culture shock. Didn't know the language. I had to go to German school first, like just not even go to school. I had to go to a German school for the first 2 years while in Germany, just to learn the language. And then when I learned the language for 2 years, because the school system is so different from what we're used to in Nigeria, I then had to go back to what in the UK would call like a year 9 or year 10. That is, they pushed me back to secondary school. Yes, I was pushed back to secondary school. And this was me, I was already like 17, and all my friends in Nigeria at that time were already in university or getting to uni. Yeah, so I came into the country, did 2 years of language school, because obviously they are taught in German, which is like Dutch. And then when I finished that, I was told that, okay, now I have to go back to do year 9 and year 10 in secondary school. And I did that. And the thing is, when I did that, I had to do like biology, I had to do like chemistry. To be fair, I've never really had interest in science subjects, never really. But I've always been good with like accounts, finance, economics, business, history. those are where my strength lies. And I had to do biology, chemistry. So I wasn't really, I mean, I'd done it because, I didn't have a choice, but I didn't have interest in it. And then by the time I was finishing secondary school in year 10, they were like, oh, I need to do year 12 and year 11 and year 12, like go to a separate school, which was called like a gymnasium, and then do year 11, year 12. At this point, I'm like, okay. And bear in mind that I knew that at this time in my life, I already knew that I wanted to do like finance and accounting, that kind of stuff. And I remember telling one of my teachers in Germany, like, oh, this is my interest, when they were asking me also about career. And he said, to be fair, that I was dreaming a little bit too big.
Why?
Yes, he said I was dreaming a little bit too big, especially for an immigrant who is not 100% in speaking German. And then when I went to the banks a few times with my dad, there was really no black people on there. Wow. I never saw any black person in the bank. I never saw any black person doing like a high profile job. Just looking at the African community within me where we stayed, there was not really anyone I could look up to or ask, how did you get this particular job in corporate? How did you get there? Like everyone did like basic labor work. They're not cleaners, they're warehouse. There was no one doing a professional career work, if that makes sense. And then when I started to dig into how do I then get into the job market, because I didn't want to, end up in maybe like sales girl and stuff, because that's what my teacher told me, like, oh, you're dreaming a little bit too big, maybe you should think about working as a sales girl in one of the supermarkets and that kind of stuff, do an apprenticeship. And I said to myself, that's not really what I want. And then when I started to look at the route into how I could get into university, it meant I had to do year 11, year 12, and then I had to do one other exam again. And then the university was going to take, I think, another 4 to 5. It was looking very long for me. Yeah, it was looking really long. And I said to myself,
for a dream that you might not even achieve at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly. And I know that even just trying to get a job as a black person, as of then when I was there, it was hard. So in my head, I'm thinking, how am I going to achieve that? I was already beginning to think that, okay, worst case scenario, I'm going to just find an apprenticeship job. I'm going to try and find like an apprenticeship, maybe like become like an hotel admin or something along that line. And then I remember a very good friend of mine, they moved from Germany to the UK, which was what sparked my interest in the UK. So they then moved from Germany to the UK, and she was telling me, she started college, and she was telling me, oh, Jen, they are Nigerians as well, by the way. And her dad also brought them from Nigeria to Germany. So we met in the same language school. And then after a while, they relocated to the UK, and she was like, oh, Jen, the UK is so much better. You don't have to learn the language. I'm in college now. Next year, I'm going to do 1 year in college now. Next year, I'm going to university. When you come here, there's so many black people, like people in corporate, this, that. My head was just like, oh my God, are you serious? Are you serious? Then I started to tour with the idea of, and bear in mind that before I left Nigeria, I already had my WAEC, and I already had my JAM certificate. So I started to tour in mind with, what if I go to the United Kingdom and go to university, rather than having to waste almost 3 years here in Germany and then still not getting on the career path. So in the UK with my WAEC certificate, my secondary school certificate, my JAM result, and bear in mind that even though some of the university did not give me year 1, I actually got year 1 or year 2. I actually got admitted to start year 1 in 1 or 2 universities, and then some others gave me like foundation. Like you can come to our university, but you have to like 1 year foundation, which was even still better. And all the courses I applied for was accounts, business finance, economics and finance, along that line. And I got really positive response because they respected my Nigerian certificate, because when I sent my WAEC and JAM certificate to the education board in Nigeria, in Germany, they did not weigh it a lot. It didn't mean anything to them. And here is someone in the United Kingdom applying to university, and it meant something for them. Some of them were like, okay, yeah, you can start year 1 in our university. Some of them were like, okay, why don't you start foundation, and then from foundation you get into year 1, year 2, year 3. But they were offering me the course that I wanted. So I saw that, okay, I got admission, and now was the time to then talk to my dad. Bear in mind, we've just started staying together. I think at this point it was like 4 years now I was in Germany. I was like, Dad, what do you think about, moving to the UK? My dad didn't want to hear of it. Like, how can you just come and you want to go to the UK by yourself? Your mom is not there, your dad is not there, there's nobody there, you can't just go by yourself. And at that time I was his only daughter, and he just didn't want to let me go. He was like, no, no, you're not going. You're not having it. I think it took me about a year plus to convince my dad to finally let
Wow.
me go to the UK. I think I had to tell him that, okay, look at this. This is what my career path is looking like here. Is this what you want for me? Have you, for how long you've been in Germany, how many black people have you seen doing a corporate job? Do you want to see me end up being a sales girl or a hotel admin? Is that all you want? And as of that time, I was already working as a part-time job in McDonald's, and that shift was long. And the pay, I mean, for a girl who was like 17 and then, the pay was alright, but long term, I know that it's too much hard work for such pay. So I used this point to convince my dad. I haven't saved up. I saved up from working at my McDonald's job. I haven't told my dad, look, if you're taking up the expenses, this is what I've saved up. This is going to help me. Don't even worry about it. So I think my dad was like, okay, you're already going to school, you're working, you're responsible, you're good around the house. And I think he kind of evaluated my character to see if he sent me out to the world alone, I wouldn't kind of like go astray. And I think after 1 year plus, he was like, okay, you can go. All his friends was literally against it. Literally. So he finally said, okay, you can go. And luckily for me, I had my mom's elder sister stays in London. So that was also one key point. I was like, oh, my mom's sister stays in London. I can stay with her first before I get a new place. So I really tried very hard to convince my dad to let me go. So he finally did. And then I came to London, I think 2012 or 2011 summer. Stayed for like a week or two. Went back to Germany and I was like, Dad, that place is so good. Let me move. And then came back to the UK to stay with my aunt before I then got my place 3 months after. And then immediately I came to the UK. Although I couldn't go straight into university, I had to still enroll in college. Wow. So I had to do like 2 years in college. Yeah, I think it was mainly because if I wanted to go to university, quite a lot I had to do foundation. And if you go to the university and do foundation, I think it would cost me about 9,000 or 7,000 pounds as of that time. Whereas college was free.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just 1 year extra. So my aunt was like, there's no need to go to university and then do foundation. Why don't you just do, I know they're offering you college for 2 years. That 2 years will also enable you to kind of understand the UK education system, give you a little bit of work experience. You don't have to pay for it. Why don't you just start college? So that's how I got into the education system. Did business in college, got triple distinction stars. Wow. And then after that, I went into university to study economics and business finance. And that's my story. Really.
Wow, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. And I like the fact where you know what you want, and no matter the challenge at the time, like your dad said, no, I don't want you moving, you just kept at it, like this is what I want. And at the end of the day, it took like about 2 or 3 years, if I could actually judge by what you told us. And here you are, you're a financial expert and you're doing well in the United Kingdom. And I'm sure that probably if you were in Germany, you would not be here. Thank you so much for that tenacity.
No, I definitely would not be, no.
Thank you so much for that tenacity, and thanks for sharing your story with us. I'm sure someone out there would actually find strength in your story. So tell us more about the UK.
Yes.
Their history, their weather, currency, Let's see the UK trio.
I like the UK. I like here. For me, because I came straight from Germany, and where we stayed in Germany was like a small village. It was one of those big towns like Berlin or Dortmund or Düsseldorf. It was quite a small town. One of those ones where you can count the number of black people there, or all the black people know each other. So coming from that to coming to London, and I think one of the first shock for me was, oh my God, why are they passing, like, in Germany, when you see the green lights at the stops, like when it's red light, you have to wait for the cars to go through. Even if there's no car, as a German, you have to wait till it says red, till it says green, and then you cross. But then getting into London, I'm like, as far as there's no car coming and it's still on red, they are crossing. And in my head, I'm like, what's going on? But it says red now. Like, why are you crossing when it's not green? And my cousin at that time was like, Jen, and she was like, Jen, this is the UK. Let's go. Did you see any cars coming? I'm like, no, but let's still wait. You don't know if another car is coming from the bend. She was like, Jen, as far as you see, there's no car coming. If it's green, if it's yellow, just cross. I was like, okay. Okay. And then I think another shock I found when I came to the UK was I kind of felt like Germany was very much more neater. That I mean, the UK is very clean. Don't get me wrong, but Germans have, you know, that saying, say German machine. It's more of the way they are organized, the way they manage themselves, the way they have very good, like they have a very good structure. So UK still has a structure, but it's very relaxed structure, if that makes sense. It's not a do or die affair, like, but Germany is almost like things needs to be like this. It's
rigid.
orderly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But UK, they are more relaxed and that kind of stuff. So for me, that was one thing I really like, because you know, we Nigerians on the normal day, we don't like very hard rock on structures. We like relaxed structures. So that was really nice. And then what I also realized about the culture was the UK is very, you're not walking on the street and someone is looking at you like you're black. Like no one cares. No one care. They've seen enough, at this point, they've seen enough black people. Like, especially in London, at this point, everybody's going about their business. And it just felt refreshing to be on the bus or anywhere, and there's just, you know, people that look like you everywhere. So I felt like home. You get? And then I remember going to Germany to get my hair done, and the lady was like, to be fair, I went to a white salon, which they clearly can't do my afro hair. And they were like, oh, they can't do my afro hair. And then when I came to London, there were so many afro salons I could get my hair done. So for me, I think maybe I've diverted a little bit from your question, but customer service or working to corporations or see black people, it was almost like, okay, I don't have to end up working in McDonald's or warehouse. I can actually get a proper job here. So you know that representation matters. So that was it for me. And then the English weather is good. The first 2 years I came, I think it snowed. I don't think we've really had a proper snow since then. I know everything is due to climate change and stuff like that. I love the British people. They're quite nice. The ones that I've met, they're quite nice. But I do know that they're just friendly on a normal basis to everybody. There's this hello thing that when you're walking on the street, someone says hello, you kind of say hello back. I know that they love their teas. Their tea, it's one big thing, afternoon tea and stuff like that. So yeah, I think the culture is very easy to integrate to.
So what's their currency?
Pounds.
Thank you so much for sharing. Now, what was your first impression when you arrived?
You also kind of like understand the Nigerian culture a little bit. For example, when I went to the college, I remember going to the college to kind of register. But when I showed them my JAMB or my Y certificate, they had a knowledge about it. They knew what that certificate was from Nigeria. So there was no too much questions about it. Unlike in Germany, I had to translate it. I had to also give it to the education board, try to explain what WAEC was, what each grade meant. But here in the UK, they knew what that certification board was. So I think there's more knowledge about our education system here in the UK than in Germany, for example. And I also think because quite a lot of time we're taught in the British curriculum, we're taught in the British what they teach them in school. Nigeria school also kind of replicated, so I think they're quite familiar with the way we're taught. I think at first might be the accent. London is not even too bad. London is fine. I remember when I can't remember where I went to. I went up north, and boy, oh boy. I think, and I'll never forget the few times I went to college and lectures, and they were just talking, and I was like, okay, they're obviously speaking English, but it's more on a fast pace. I just need to kind of like concentrate a little bit more harder to understand what they are saying. So for me, it was the fast speaking, the accent. I had to get used to that. It took a while to get used to that. Especially when I went up north. I think I went, my friends and I, we took a summer trip up north. I can't remember where exactly now. And just speaking to them and talking, I was just like, yeah, okay, yeah. I didn't understand half of what was being said because the accent was just very strong. But now, put me anywhere in the UK, I understand them.
I'm sure you guys said, sorry, come again. Pardon?
Yeah, exactly. So most of I wouldn't even ask come again unless I feel like you want me to, or it's a conversation that needs response. If it's more of those ones, you just nod your head. I'm like, yeah, they're talking, and you're like, yeah, okay, so that you're kind of letting them know that you're following along. But I'm not. To be honest with you, I didn't have any like huge cultural shock that experience. By the time I started to explore other parts of Britain, I already knew what to expect. So it wasn't like a shock to me.
So what did you have to unlearn and relearn living in the UK?
What did I have to unlearn and relearn? That's a very good question. I think here I learned that it's okay to speak up. Yes. Even in college, we were quite encouraged to speak up, and you were encouraged to dream big. And you were encouraged to speak up if something is not right. I mean, like my teacher would say, is like there's a tone that is expected of you if you wanted to make a complaint or raise a grievance, that kind of stuff. And like, if you wanted to make a complaint, if something went wrong, you should speak up. And there's a tone and manner you should do that. It's almost like, okay, you're upset or you don't like something, but don't just let your emotions, get over you and be rude and all that. No, make your points across, but keep it, respect the other person, if that makes sense. So unlike in, I would say unlike maybe it's more of a confident thing, unlike Jamie, like I've not even thought of how I'm going to express myself fully. How am I going to complain or raise an issue that I'm not quite happy with? When I start thinking of how I'm going to put the words together and start stressing, I just like, okay, let's move on. And quite a lot of time is also getting them to understand you as well.
Okay, so I'm going to take you back to the German days, right? When you were in Germany. Do you know how to speak German?
Yes, I do. It's, to be fair, when you learn a language, you know how to read and write more than actually speak.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Because it's easier to write and read, but speaking, you can, your accent can come in the way you might not pronounce it properly. So if I was to grade myself in reading and writing, in reading I'll probably say like a good 70%. I can literally I can read a German textbook, I can read a German novel and understand it. Like a good 70-75%. Writing, I'll grade myself pretty much the same. When it comes to speaking, now I would probably grade myself between 60 to 65%. So I can have a proper conversation with you in German. But I wouldn't be able to do it like 100% base. It's almost like when a French person or a German person learns English anyway. They're not really fluent in it, but they can have like conversation with you.
Yeah, I get you. So we're going to put your German to test, right?
Okay.
So I'd like you to say, hello, my name is XYZ. Welcome to Swaggerslifestyle. Kindly like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Okay. Hallo, ich heiße Jennifer. What's the other one again? What did you say? So my name is...
my name is Jennifer. Welcome to Swaggerslifestyle.
Okay, let's take that one first. Hallo, ich heiße Jennifer. Willkommen zu Swaggerslifestyle. Yeah.
Okay.
What's the next one?
Like, share, subscribe, and comment.
Bitte... What's like again? Morgan. Bitte Morgan. I don't know what subscribe is. Subscribe. Comment. What's comment? Comment. I can't remember what comment is. And then if you want to say, comment on the section below. Bitte. What's like? I can't remember what like is. I don't know what subscribe is at the moment. Comment. I can't think of what the word comment is. But if you want to say like Schreib. Sorry, comment is Schreib. Thank you, Schreib. Schreiber. And then like is Morgan. I'm just trying to remember the word separately. So like is Morgan. Comment is Schreiber. Subscribe. I don't know what that is. So bitte Morgan. Schreiber unter. So unter is like comment below. So
thank you so much. That was fun. You tried.
It's been a while. It's so funny because my dad still lives in Germany. It's almost like once I I mean, I haven't visited since COVID, but when I used to visit frequently, when I get into Germany, my brain kind of flips and the German side comes up. And then when I'm back in the UK, it kind of flips back to English.
Probably survival mode.
Yes, more like it, yes.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for sharing. So, as a Nigerian, a woman and a mother, what is it like living in the UK? What do you love and what do you dislike?
As a mother, what do I like in the UK? I think for me, because one, I'm very career driven, I'm quite ambitious. I think the UK gives me the opportunity that I don't, just because I'm a mom doesn't mean I can't, like pursue my career. For example, they have 1 year maternity leave, which is great, absolutely brilliant. And your job, if you have a very good job, your job is pretty much secured. So it gives me that ability that in as much as you're a mom, you're a woman, we respect you, we respect your space. And if you're career driven like I am, there are things in place put in to support you, like your maternity leave, like your secured contracts, for example, with your firm. And the only thing I would say I don't like is the cost of childcare. The cost of childcare is just over the roof. I remember because I had my daughters back to back, and yes, I had them back to back. And I remember when I was planning to go back to work after my second maternity leave, and my husband was like, okay, nursery fees was about more than £2,000 a month for both kids to go full time. Yes. And my husband and I were having this conversation, and we were like, okay, it's up to me to decide if I want to stay at home. I can stay at home. Obviously, we look after the bees and all that. Or if I was to go back to work, quite a very good chunk of my salary would, go into childcare costs. And I sat down to myself and I'd be like, look, I've been chasing this career since Germany. I'm not just gonna come here and stop just because I have a child now, because I have 2 kids now. And I said to myself, because I work in the finance industry, if I was to stay at home and look after my girls till they get into primary school, which is like I think age 4 or 5, that means I'll be out of work for 4 to 5 years. And I just did not want that for myself. And at this point, I've already had like back-to-back maternity leave, and I was just also tired of just not exercising my brain. And it was just a part of my brain that was just motherhood and wifey duties. So it was just looking after the girls, looking after the home. I wanted more for myself, and I knew that it was only for me to kind of like sacrifice the next few years in order to pursue my career path. As of when I had my daughters, I was a financial analyst, so I went back to work at the end of every month. I was literally working for childcare. Imagine having 2 kids under 3 at that point, going to daycare full time. At the end of the month, I was crying as they were paying me. I was paying daycare. But I looked at my long-term goal. I always tell people, what are your short-term and what are your long-term goal? I looked at my long-term. I said, if I stopped working, if my kids went to school after 5, I would have to start from the bottom up again. Whereas, even though I'm working right now, I'm not really seeing the earnings because obviously I'm paying childcare. But I can be working my way up. There will be no gap in my CV as well. And that totally paid off. Absolutely paid off. And then luckily for me, I think 2 years in, COVID happened. We were asked to work from home, so that gave me a little bit of a work-life balance again. So for me, it was the best decision I made. And it also got me thinking about for example, moms that are single parent. To be honest, the reason I was even able to go back to work and put all my money into childcare because I also had a partner in-house that was able to support the family. If I was a single mom, this would be a very difficult, extreme situation to kind of like handle your bills and work and still have to pay childcare and have nothing left. So I just had to go back to work because again, I tell people, working is not just how you earn money. You have to, because we spend so much time at work, you have to do something that you like and you enjoy. And I quite like everything, accounts, finance, and that kind of stuff. It gives me, I don't know how to explain it. It lightens me up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's actually your purpose and your passion. So
exactly,
you find joy doing
yes.
it. Yes. Thanks for sharing. So, is UK a good country to raise children? And
yes.
How do you cope with the Western child parenting in terms of discipline?
Okay. Just to answer your question straight off, UK is an amazing place to raise kids off. I was reading somewhere in on Instagram the other day, like if you're thinking of relocating and you have very young children, please, it might be worth it for you to kind of wait till they are of school age before you relocate to the UK, which is kind of true because if you think of childcare costs, not being able to work properly because you have children under 4 or under 5, it can be very, very hard at that early stage. If you look at it that way, but overall generally, the UK is a beautiful place to raise kids. I love it. I like it. I'm raising 2 young girls here in the UK, and it's going really well. When it comes to how we think the Western people raise their kids and how we Nigerians culturally raise kids, I think because also I'm in my early 30s, so I'm still like a young mom, and there's a bit of modern lifestyle infused into me. So the way I was raised back home is obviously I'm not following that method to the T to raise my girls back here in the UK. And mainly because the parenting style that worked then is not the parenting style that is working now. We all kind of have knowledge about being there emotionally for our children, not just giving them food and shelter. That's the basics. So it's more of being there emotionally, knowing that not one child is the same. So for me, I don't use a lot of smacking. I'm more of the communication type parenting. Like I would not smack, but you might hear me shout every now and then because I'm just Nigerian. Sorry, like I will raise my voice at some point. So yeah, like it's just more. I think for me, the way I raise my kids is more of parent communication. Like if I feel like communication is not working, my tone will go up a bit.
We'll go up.
Yes, exactly. And we also make use of timer. So back in the day, if you did something wrong, they would punish you, like you would kneel down, you do pimping, if you know what that means.
Yeah.
So I've replaced that with timeout, and maybe you take stuff away that you like, or just emphasize on, okay, so I get my daughters to also write letters because now they can write. Tell me that write 10 times that you're not going to do this. Maybe I've been telling them not to read their books. If they are drawing, they should draw it, and even if they do that, like write 10 times, I will not read my book. So by the time they write it 10 times or 15 times, by the time their hands start to hurt, they know not to do that next time. Not too far off from the way our parents raised us, but more towards gentle parenting, but not your typical modern gentle parenting. If you still do anyhow, you will see anyhow.
You will still collect.
Yeah, exactly. Once will still straighten you.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for sharing. So, what is the work and study environment like for foreigners?
For example, like I said, I went to college here and I went to university here. For me, it's you know what I always say, yeah. In Nigeria, our education system is really tough. I always tell people back home that if you are an average student back home, if you come to the UK, you'll be like a top student.
True.
If you're an average back home, then if you are not a top student back home, you'll be like one of the first. Like
acing it.
Exactly. Because the Nigerian system is very much about you must know this. And I feel like maybe it's a little bit more of the cramming, but it's just very hard. Whereas the UK education system is more of, I want you to understand the concept of this. It's not just about cramming A to Z. No. Do you understand how we get from here to here? It's more of understanding that would, and when you understand something in your own words, you can explain it to so many people rather than if you kind of like cram or just want to know just the answer. You'll be able to explain to someone just how you got the answer. But if you understand, there's so many ways you can explain it to different people based on their intellectual, how they understand stuff. So if you're an average student in the UK, trust me, you excel here. Like the library resources, for example, in my uni, when I went to uni, even in college, like they have very great resources. You're allowed to use the only big thing here is they're very big on referencing. So when you like do a piece of work and you are submitting it, you have to reference properly. So and I don't think I don't know how the education system now is in Nigeria, but I don't think while I was there was a lot of emphasis on how to referencing and stuff. But it's very easy to learn. that it's very easy to learn. And for me, I think studying here is it's if you concentrate and know what you're going for, it's quite easy. To be honest, it's easy. Well, to me, the way I see it from my point of view, if you're a serious student and you went to school in Nigeria or you're thinking of, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Thank you so much for sharing. So, how does work-life balance in the UK compare to Nigeria? Do you find it easy to manage your personal and professional life? And how do you deal with the mental health and the UK taxes and all the hustle in the UK?
I'm very lucky. Before COVID, I used to go to the office Monday to Friday. And I think sometimes on the month, I could take one day, I could work from home one day. And I was in a job where I was also traveling a lot. When COVID happened, I was in Dublin. I was literally on the last flight back to the UK. And it also got me thinking about future-wise, what I wanted to do career-wise, if I wanted to, stay in a job that just meant I was traveling. I was evaluating my job role at that point. And then COVID happened and then we stayed at home. So since COVID, luckily for me, I'm in a job and I'm in a role where I work from home. So I work from home maybe like 90% of the time. The only time I normally go to the office is when I have like a management meeting or that kind of stuff, or I'm going to site to meet my stakeholders and I'm talking through them with their finances. That's the main reason I go to the office. 90% of the time I'm just working from home on my laptop, so that's really giving me a really good work-life balance. So prior to COVID, I would wake up at 6:30, get my kids ready for school, drop them at daycare, then drive to work, finish work at 5, pick them up, and then come home. The stress of just waking up, thinking of what to wear, packing lunch,
there's no
I don't have that. So it gives me a very good work-life balance, if that makes sense. In terms of my so that I'm like, it's just wonderful that I'm able to work remotely as a mom. And then in terms of mental health, I don't necessarily I think I'm also quite fortunate that I'm in a position where I don't have a lot in my life that causes me mental stress. If there's anything that gets me maybe stress sometimes, maybe towards the end of the month when load is really high. But my husband and I kind of have a very good working system whereby if I feel like, okay, I need more time at work, I need extra time, he kind of like takes the workload for the house off me, and then he does that, so I'm able to balance it. If it's for him too, I kind of like there's a sharing formula of how we work within our family, whereby if I feel like, okay, this was going on at work or this was going on with me, I need some time off, I need this, we're very good in understanding that, okay, I want to go on a boys trip, I want to go on a girls trip, or I just want to go out with my friends this weekend. It's very balanced in my home, really. So I don't really get a lot of episodes whereby I am like just stressed. But I'm not going to tell you that it's not easy. It's also not easy working full time and parenting. It is hard. I think one of the struggles I also find is just this constantly cooking. Cooking is not one of my biggest strengths, but I do it anyway because I have a family to feed. So sometimes it could just be cooking, looking after the home, looking after the kids, working full time. And I'm also currently studying as well. So I'm working full time, looking after kids, and I'm also studying on the side. And it's not easy, but you have to kind of like, there are some days where parenting has to take a higher priority. There are some days, work can. And there are some days I'm just like, it is me this whole week. I'm taking priority. So it's almost like shifting it every now and then, depending on how I feel or how life just throws it at me.
Thank you so much for sharing. So, what is their traditional staple food?
I don't know if I'm right, but I like to say that the English like a good, like for breakfast, it's a good sausage, baked beans, hash brown, and bacon, and with a cup of coffee. So that is their, like, when they say big English breakfast, that's it. Sausage, bacon, pudding, tomato, a toast. So that just makes a whole full proper English breakfast. And then I think you have your typical Sunday roast, which is like chicken and roasted potatoes and gravy sauce. Oh, they are so yummy. I actually love it. Love it.
Thank you. So, what is the UK famous and best known for?
I think if anyone is really coming to the UK for the very first time, they want to see Buckingham Palace. That's
Yeah.
They want to go to London. They want to see the London Bridge. They want to see Buckingham Palace. They want to see Big Ben. So it's just once they get into London, where does the Queen stay? You know, back home, everyone has heard of the Queen and Buckingham Palace. Like that palace, everyone wants to go there and take pictures. That's when you know you've arrived first in the UK. Like, even if you're coming to the UK and you are not staying in London and you're going to maybe like going to settle in Manchester or Liverpool, people always take 2 or 3 days to kind of like just explore London, go and see those places. So once you have those pictures on your phone, now you have arrived, now you have seen England. Yeah, because otherwise, if you've been in England for 10 years or 5 years, even up to 1 year, you've not seen those places. You're not in England now. How are you going to explain to someone back home that you've been to where the Queen stays, you've seen the Big Ben, you've seen, London Bridge is falling down. How are you going to kind of like put the picture in your head together? You have to see those places. Even not just Africans that go there, like the main tourists for the UK, for people who are first time comers, they tend to go to those places first just to see and then move on to their final destinations.
True. So what opportunities has living in the UK provided that you might not have had in Nigeria?
Oh, that's a good question. My cousins and I back home, not just my cousins and I back home. I think, to be honest, when it comes to the UK, it's like I said, if you're ambitious and you want to climb the corporate ladder, from my point of view, you can. You just have to work hard, have the right certifications. I mean, if I look at quite a lot of my friends that I went to secondary school with in Nigeria, quite a lot of them, or few of them, have just gotten married, start having kids, and that's just it. Or maybe a few of them have now maybe like own one business, or just to have a business on the side, which is also perfect. But I feel like growing up, I know that quite a lot of them had more dreams to work, to earn their money, to be a bit more financially independent. And I feel like sometimes the Nigeria society doesn't give women that. And it's so funny because sometimes people complain that Nigerian women just want to get married and have kids and marry an odogu and all that. But you notice that when they travel abroad, especially in a community like this, in like the UK, they tend to go out there, work. You see them, they start becoming nurses. They start finding a career in mental. They start finding ways to work. Whereas if they were in Nigeria, they didn't do that because the economy did not give them the opportunity to. And quite a lot of time, I remember when I was in Germany, quite a lot of the women there also did not work because a lot of the job out there was just like your normal manual labor work. And the men did not encourage their wife to work. And also the wife also didn't see the reasons to, because at the end of the day, it's not like you can pursue anything tangible. It's still going to be like labor work. Whereas if you come here to the UK, you can decide to, maybe even if you started a job as a carer, you can work your way up. So there's that opportunity to, if you want to work, if you want to build a profession or whatever figure, you actually have the opportunity here in the UK to do that. It's not, they don't give you jobs based on how you look or what you look. The point is, what I really like them is, can you do the work? Do you have the qualification to do the work? That's one of the major things that will get you in the door.
Thank you so much for sharing. So what are the success stories in the UK that can be replicated in Nigeria?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm not sure, because, what are the success stories that can be replicated in Nigeria that is already here? I think if you're an entrepreneur, it can be very hard to break into the UK market, because I think the UK market is a little bit saturated. So you have to really come really hard if you really want to make it here in terms of being an entrepreneur, which is what I found. But whereas in Nigeria, it's very easy to be an entrepreneur. So I would say that if you're very focused on creating something, you can come to the UK here and learn how it is done here, the processes. I also say that UK are very good. They have very good customer service, which is something I feel like Nigeria lack a lot in a lot of their business areas. Customer service, they tend to lack that. The maintenance culture of processes or operations is something that we also lack in Nigeria. So if you're someone who's really looking to stand out and kind of want to replicate things, is maybe coming here, looking at how things work, looking at how things are structured, and then if you go back home to replicate that same operations and processes, you will stand out. Really, you will, because a typical Nigerian just know how to deliver the service.
Yeah.
They don't know what
Like
the process leading up to the service, which is really before you render the service and after you render the service.
That's deep. Thanks for sharing. So there are two sides to a coin, right? So what can the British people learn from Nigerians?
Ooh, I think at this point the British people, they've seen us finish. They don't, they don't see us finish. I don't think there's too much that we're hiding from them anymore at this point. Like I said, the barrier between Nigeria, a direct flight to Nigeria is 6 hours. And we as Nigerians, we are loud, we get heard, we get seen. So I think the white people already kind of understand what our culture is, or what the African culture is. So it's not too hard. And I think at the moment, I think they're embracing like the food. I think my husband and I, we went to an African restaurant the other day, and we were having some meal, and they were just like really white people coming in and out ordering jollof rice. I was like, okay, I see you. At least I'll get the non-spicy one. At least you're still eating the jollof rice, so it's nice. So I think they're really into the food, and again, they're really into the music. Like there's nowhere you will go that you will not hear Afrobeats. It's just like it's a big thing in the UK right now. And I also like the fact that our African artists or actresses and stuff, they can easily break into the UK market. For example, if they open their movies in the cinema in Nigeria, quite a lot of time they tend to come here and also do the movies here in the cinemas as well. So yeah, I think the cultures that really I wouldn't necessarily say merging, but there's more aware of it from our white from the British people here, or rather the English people, because there's one thing to be English and there's another thing to be British. I think they are two different things. To be fair, you can migrate from Nigeria and come here, stay 5 years or for 10 years or whatnot, and then migrate and then get your British passport. That doesn't mean you're English, you're British. So you can then migrate, get the British passport, you are British. English is the typical English people that own breathing, if that makes sense. Like you like, I don't know how to explain it, but there's been British. It's just almost like saying, some people like to say, oh, they are first Igbo, they're Nigerian.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So they are English people, and then collectively British. All of us are British people, but they are still like people who are English. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. How has living in the UK shaped your identity as a Nigerian, and how do you maintain your cultural identity?
And to be fair, living in the UK, I go to a Nigerian church. I go to a Redeemed Church, so there's quite a lot of Nigerians there. Everywhere you go, there's advantage and disadvantage. To me, UK is home for me. I love it here. They've given me so much opportunity. But also, I'm also Nigerian. I'm in Nigeria every other year. I was there last year. I'm hoping I'm going again. So my Nigerian roots is very much grounded. Because we frequent home all the time. My kids know about Nigeria. I've just been someone who's left Nigeria, but also just maintain the connection that I have back home, because I go often. In our house here in the UK, 70% of our meals are Nigerian food.
Good job.
70% of the meals that I cook are Nigerian food, and then we mix it up with English food every now and then. We go to a Nigerian church, so quite a lot of my friends are British Nigerians. So even though I'm in Britain and I have a mixture of friends from everywhere, but I think community-wise, it's still very much grounded around being Nigerian as well.
Are there any customs and tradition in UK that you have adopted?
That's a very good question. I think for me, it's just, I don't have that because I'm Nigerian. I have to be late. I don't have that mentality. If you tell me it's 3 p.m, best believe I'll be there. Unless I've come to your party before and I know that your party is one of those ones that you do Nigerian timing, then obviously I would adjust my time. But typically, if I'm invited for something, I don't like to do the African time. I show up on time there unless I know that I've been to your event a few times. If you say 3 o'clock, you are starting at 5 p.m. So rather than coming there to wait, I would kind of like adjust it to your time. So I keep to time. I keep to time. And for me, like I said, something about communication is one of the things about the British people that I've kind of like, I think I have adopted personally is if you do something that I don't like, I would let you know. I'll speak up to you and just tell you straight up. And I think quite a lot of my British friends are like that too. And although sometimes I know that they can have cheeky smile in the sense that they can be cheeky. Don't tell me to explain
I know
it.
what you mean.
Yeah.
The fake smile.
Okay, good.
Nice. So, what are the tourist attractions in the UK? Apart from the ones you mentioned earlier.
You know what? You know what's funny, yeah? If you live in the UK, it can actually be more cheaper to go on holiday to Spain or Italy than actually go on holiday in the UK. Yes, sometimes that's what people say. Like sometimes it's cheaper to fly abroad to go on holiday than to actually holiday in the UK. But my family and I have been doing this thing where every Easter holiday we tour somewhere in the UK. For example, I think last year we went to Manchester, and then this year we've been to Cardiff in Wales. And I think previously we went to Scotland. They are really nice places. There is if you're interested in seeing castles, there's like you can go see the castles in Cardiff. If you're interested in going to the countryside, I think Scotland is really good for that. If you're interested in going like seeing things like valleys, maybe mountains, I think up north is really good. So it depends on your vibe, really what you're going for. There's different places that you can actually go on vacation in the UK. I typically like Scotland because of their tradition. Scotland has a really good tradition, like culture and tradition. I think Scotland is really good if you really want to like if you really want to know like the proper Scottish culture. I think Scotland would be a nice place to start. Yeah. And it's so funny because also Wales is also very good because Wales have a different language from English. They actually speak Welsh, I think. And it's so funny the way the language is written. And it's also a nice place to be. And there are also a few beaches in the UK, but I always advise people if you're coming here for the first time, if you want to enjoy anything outdoor, come during the summertime. Come if you want to enjoy and vacate, come during the summertime. Anytime from May to just about the end of September, the weather is okay. Anytime from November, you're on your own.
The weather becomes grey.
Yeah, it's like when it's like 4 p.m. and it's already dark and you're like wondering. Yeah, if you come that time for your first time out, you're on your own. I don't think you would see the beauty of UK because by then we're trying to anything indoors is what we're going after. I mean, for me, anything outdoor, we're trying to avoid outdoor activities. It's mostly indoor because you want to be warm and wrapped up warm and nice.
Thank you so much. So what do you miss about Nigeria?
What do I miss is mainly the food, and that's why anytime I go to Nigeria, I'm eating like somebody that don't have sense. I'm just hopping from one restaurant to the other looking for food. Anytime I go to Nigeria, I tend to make sure that I lose a couple of kgs so that when I'm eating. Exactly, like I'm coming home. I went to the salon the other day while I was in Nigeria and I ordered for pepper soup and nkwombi, and the girl was looking at me like, "Are you okay? Supposed to come or don't go?" I was like, don't worry about me. Just do this hair. Don't worry. I know where I'm coming from. This is my mission.
Oh my days.
One of the first things is I just eat. I think one of the also things I miss is community, especially being a mom. I had my 2 girls here. I don't think I ever remember the time growing up where it was just me, my brother, and my mom in the house. We always had a nephew or a cousin or someone. And I also don't remember. Yeah, there's always someone to help my mom around the house with the cooking, with looking after us. So she wasn't really confined to, like, I don't think motherhood really what's the word? I don't think it's enclosed, restricted her, because if she wanted to go out, there's someone in the house. If she didn't have energy to cook, there's someone there to cook. There's always someone in the house. Unlike here in the UK, where you have to literally DIY everything yourself. Like, it's just you and your husband struggling through all of it.
That's true. Yeah.
Do you understand? So I think that's one thing I really miss. So when my mom and I are comparing about motherhood, I'm like, please, your own was easy. Don't even come here. I don't want to even hear it. Like, I'm suffering. Well, not necessarily suffering, but I feel like it was easier then for her because she had an option of, oh, if she was tired, there's one chioma that can, do dinner. Or if she's like, if my husband and I need to go out, we're thinking childcare.
Yeah, someone to come and stay.
Like, you're going out for 4 hours and you're paying childcare of £15 per hour. You're not thinking, look, if the person we're going to meet, if it's not making sense, we might as well just stay at home. You get? But unlike in Nigeria, you're not thinking of that. You're just thinking of how you're going to chill and relax in the party. You're not thinking of who's looking after your child, because there's always someone there to look after them or help, rather. I don't have that luxury here, so it can be really hard, and it can sometimes feel like motherhood or parenting is restricting you. But on the flip side of the coin, it also means that as a parent, you are hands-on. Like, you get to know more about your kids because you're involved in their daily lives a little bit more, because you cannot outsource it.
That's true. Thank you so much for sharing. This has been a very interesting and insightful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing, Jennifer. It was so much, thank you so much for coming on the show today. So the reason why we're doing this show is because now when you talk about Nigerians, the first thing that comes to you is negative. They stereotype us, we are bad, we are this, we are that. So this show is actually to show people out there that we have Nigerians living outside of Nigeria, and they are there legally, they're doing well, they're doing good, they're good citizens of the countries that they are living in, and they are good ambassadors of Nigeria in different countries that you're living in. So if you're out there and you're a Nigerian and you want to share your experience with us, you can reach us at swaggerslifestyle@gmail.com. We would love to have this conversation with you. And also to all Nigerians living out of Nigeria, keep raising our banner high. Keep doing the good things that you are doing, and also keep obeying the laws of the countries that you are living in, because you are an ambassador and you have to fly our flag so high. So that is why we are doing, this this show, and put it out there that we have Nigerians living out of the country that are doing amazing, and we are good people. We have drive, we have tenacity. We are entrepreneurial, and we are just blessed people. That is why we are doing the show. So Jennifer, in conclusion, what will be your advice to anyone that wants to relocate?
Just make sure that you're relocating for the right reasons. Don't let this whole jackpot, just that trend of everyone is leaving, I want to leave too. Make sure that first and first you're doing it for you. Take out the noise. Write down 3 to 5 or 10 things that you think personally, this is why you want to relocate to another country. Write it down and sit on it for a bit. And also, I like this thing of, I think maybe it's because of my career, what are your short-term and what are your long-term goals when it comes to relocating? What do you want to get out of it? It's not just, okay, this is why I want to relocate. Okay, if you figure that you want to relocate, these are the reasons you want to do it. What are your short-term, what are your long-term goals when you get to that place that you're going into? What do you intend to do? I know that, obviously life takes us in a journey that we don't know, and it's okay for your plans to change, but I would advise you not to go there with no plan. It's better your plan change or divert rather than going with no plan. That saying, say God will do it, God will do it. Yes, we know that God will do it, but at least plan so that you can maybe foresee a picture before you and work towards it rather than just going with the wind. So first and first, make sure that you're relocating for the right reasons and it's for you. Secondly, do make a short-term or long-term plan on in terms of what you want to achieve when you get there, what you want to do, what the outcome of it. And 3, make sure that you have enough finances at least to last you for 3 to 6 months while you're in that new place that you're relocating to. So those would be my 3 T's when it comes to relocating.
Thank you so much. Note that the Tower of London always keeps at least 6 crew. It is said that if the ravens left the Tower of London, the tower would fall and the British family will fall with it. The World Wide Web, WWW, was created in 1990 by British scientist Tim Berners-Lee. Till I come your way next time, this is Gbogbo Swagger and this is Swaggerslifestyle. Do not forget to do what? Like, share, subscribe, and also comment. Till I see you in the next one. Stay true to yourself. Thank you and bye. Bye.
Swag, swag.